Hello friends, welcome to my online tutorial. My name is Pranav Shukla and today we are going for Raintree English course book class 8. For today's concern is chapter number 5, the mask. So friends, this story is a detective story. You must have been acquainted with the stories from Sherlock Holmes and his associate Watson, and together this duo solves number of impossible looking cases, and the way it is described by Arthur Conan Doyle, it creates thrill in the hearts of reader. It is so fascinating and it is everlasting amusing stories. So would be this story. Here we have another set of detectives, Feluda and Topsy. Again this duo are solving a difficult case. It is so thrilling, the description is too good. The story goes to the next level because it is written by a legendary filmmaker, writer, Satyajit Ray. He is an Indian writer, but more than that, he is a world-renowned, one of the greatest ever filmmakers India has ever seen. He is Bengali and is known for his stories as well as filmmaking art. So, as it is a detective story, so I cannot tell you much about it, but here I can just tell you the the main plot, where these two detectives actually solve the case of a man with the mask, and how this man threatens a gentleman, and how the mystery regarding this threatening to a gentleman unravels. So with lots of ups and downs and mysteries and suspense and thrills, the story progresses. So I cannot tell you much about the story because it is a detective story. So you will enjoy the story the way it progresses. So let it be a mystery for us. Let the story progress the way it does and enjoy it. So the story is a long one, so we'll go for 2 parts. So here you have the first part. I'm sharing the textbook with you, friends. This is The Mask by Satyajit Ray. Already mentioned over there before the story begins that introduction should be read because you should know about Satyajit Ray. So let's read the introduction first. He lived between 1921 to 1992, was an Indian filmmaker, artist and writer. Here we have the man himself in the photograph. He wrote several short stories and novels for children and young adults. He created the famous characters of scientist Professor Shonku in the private detective Feluda, just the way we have a very famous Bengali character that is maybe inspired by Sherlock Holmes. You must have also seen the movie acted by Sushant Singh Rajput, that is Jomkesh Bakshi. So it is another character again from Bengali writer Feluda. So in this text, which is the first of the Feluda stories, Ray very subtly, very minutely shows us how Feluda cleverly solves this mystery. So let's get back to the beginning. Okay. The story takes place in, just mind well friends, please give attention to the introductory part of this story, because it will be easier for you to go with the story. You have to remember a lot of happenings, a lot of subtle, minute things in the story just to get better understanding. So remember every single happening in the story, please. So please be attentive. Story takes place in Darjeeling, where Feluda and Topsy were holidaying. This is how the questions are formed. I have just done some verbal changes just to show you how the question answers are, or how the answers are formed according to the question. So right now, avoid it. Feluda is private detective, while his cousin is his associate and partner. Topsy is the narrator of the story. One evening while sitting at the mall, here what is the meaning of mall? A stretch of road in a hill station with shops and eateries on both sides. Not that mall that we have in the cities. Topsy accidentally overhears, malab by chance, overhears, malab something is revealed in private, tell in confident, sorry, overhears, malab hears by chance. Who is overheard? Okay, Rajan Babu, remember this name. Who is he? Okay, he is an amiable, very friendly old man living a peaceful, retired life in Darjeeling, confiding in, revealing himself in private, telling very confidentially in Tinkori Babu, that is his tenant. What is it telling him? About a threatening, but a very frightening letter that he had received by post. So, our main character is Rajan Babu, is living with his tenant, that is Tinkori Babu, and is talking to Tinkori Babu about the threatening letter that he has got by post. So he's thinking that it may require some investigation. So Topsy tells Feluda about it, as he has overheard that talk. So the story begins with Feluda and Topsy visiting Rajan Babu. We'll also come to know why, without being consulted by Rajan Babu, they are themselves meeting Rajan Babu. So they are acquaintances, and as a part of the relations, they find it their duty to help Rajan Babu. So now they are at the place of Rajan Babu. Story begins from here. Rajan Babu's house had a lovely old world charm. Some antiquities and old world things would be seen over there. He was very fond of keeping old things, precious things, antiques at his house. Can furniture made of can, bamboo, and strange mask adorned, decorated the living room. He was fond of this mask. Very recently, Rajan Babu had developed an interest in antiques. Antiques means old and awful valuable things. And curios, very rare and unusual objects or gems. They are usually collected by some rich people. So he had recently developed interest in antiques and curios and had started collecting them. So this is Rajan Babu. You can imagine that he's got some valuable stuff at his house. So that might be the reason of threatening letter. But now who's written this? There is a mystery that is to be solved by Feluda and Topsy. As it turned out, Rajan Babu had once helped Feluda's father. Why Feluda is voluntarily helping Rajan Babu? Here is the reason. So he willingly took up Feluda's offer to help him find out who had sent the threatening letter. He was just about to tell us about it when Tinkwari Babu joined us. Now this whole story is narrated by Topsy, and he is the first person narrative. Feluda is third person, Rajan Babu is third person, everyone else is third person. Just the way in Sherlock Holmes stories, all the stories are narrated by Watson, his associate. It is done by Topsy. So Rajan Babu was narrating the entire incident, and at that time Tinkwari Babu joined them. Us means Topsy and Feluda. Topsy is I. Introducing himself as Rajan Babu's tenant, Tinkwari Babu said, I did hesitate to move into Rajan Babu's house as I have a special weakness for cheruts. Malabi gives his introduction and gives the reason why he shifted to Rajan Babu's house. He also clarifies that earlier he had a problem in shifting Rajan Babu's house because Rajan Babu was fond of Tinkwari Babu was having the habit of smoking cheruts. Cherut is a very long, thick cigarette kind of thing made of certain kind of leaves and wrapped with certain layers. Maybe Ghana or Cuba is famous for their cheruts. It is the hobby of rich people, you must have seen in the movies. Only when he said that he did not mind the smell of cheruts did I accept the offer. So here we come to know that Tinkwari Babu has the habit of smoking cheruts. Feluda turned to Rajan Babu and asked, do you have the letter here? You want to see the letter? Rajan Babu took it out of his pocket. It was not handwritten. If it is handwritten, hand expert can find out who's written this. So it was typed. Rather than it was scrambled. The words be prepared to pay. How the letter goes. The italicized words are actually the words from letter. Be prepared to pay for your misdeeds. That was written in the letter. And that had been cut out from newspapers and pasted there. So it is a newspaper line used to threaten Rajan Babu. So Rajan Babu said it was posted in Darjeeling. Unfortunately, I threw the envelope away. So it is normally our habit that we are concerned only with the letter. So we don't show much concern to the envelope and we throw it away. It was done by Rajan Babu. Otherwise, it could be found out from which post office it came and the area could be ascertained by this envelope. But that was missed out. Feluda asked, do you suspect anyone? Does anyone visit you regularly? So he says, no, I can't recall ever harming anyone. I have not harmed anyone. So I don't have any suspicion of anyone who's there to harm me. I have not done any bad to anyone. And more than that, I don't get too many visitors. So now who are the visitors? Dr. Phony Mitra comes occasionally, only when I'm ill. And Mr. Abni Mohan Ghoshal has recently started visiting me. So these are two persons visiting him frequently. One is doctor and one more person is there. And by the time he finishes his statement, just then Mr. Ghoshal walked in. He was an expert in antiques and wanted to examine the authenticity. One word comes over there. Authenticity, genuineness of an antique bell that Rajan Babu had bought. So he's an expert and Rajan Babu comes across Mr. Ghoshal frequently these days because he's now interested in buying the antiques and curios. So it is quite obvious that he visits his house. After Mr. Ghoshal had left, Feluda advised Rajan Babu to stay at home for the next few days. It is not advisable for him to go out, as he could be harmed. Remember all these things, friends, please. As we got up to leave, Feluda moved toward the mantelpiece. There is a shelf above the grate or the fireplace that is usually made of structure of wood or marble or stone and is used to keep photo frames, candle stand, or flower vase. You must have seen in the colder countries or the fireplace. That shelf is called as mantelpiece. So Feluda moved towards the mantelpiece to take a close look at the three photographs there. Rajan Babu explained that the first one was his wife's photograph. The second one was of himself. Malab Navi observes the room and the stuffs in the room. So he first observes three photographs over the mantelpiece. One was of his wife photograph. Second was of himself as a child, Rajan Babu. And third one was of his son, that is Praveer. When he met Tinkori, the family photograph was there, but separate ones. When we met Tinkori Babu in a coffee shop the next day, that was all for that day. Now the next day they met Tinkori Babu in a coffee shop. And there he said, he might have contacted these two detectives or they contacted Tinkori Babu. I feel Tinkori Babu might have contacted them, wanted to give them some information that he couldn't do in front of Rajan Babu. So it is very important. I think Ghoshal is a crook. Now he leads the suspicion over Mr. Ghoshal. He said he was a crook. He was a person who deals with some crimes and he has some anti-ways. Teda admi. He pretends to be, he has a false show that he is interested in art and antiques. But I think he only wants to buy them cheap here. By winning the trust of Rajan Babu, he might be wanting to buy all these curios and antiques cheaply and sell them to foreigners at a very higher rate. So he's a sweet poison very close to Rajan Babu, according to Tinkori Babu. That's what he tells these two detectives, Feluda and Topsy. These are the photographs. This is the wife who's no more. This is child Rajan Babu, and this is Prabir, his son. And this is mantelpiece. See, flower vase and some antiques are there. This is fireplace. This is Feluda. This is Topsy. This is Tinkori Babu. Here are the masks. And this is Rajan Babu. So then Mr. Ghoshal might have a motive in sending the letter to Rajan Babu. That is said by Feluda. I learned during my visit to Curio Shop today that the shop is going to get some fresh supplies this evening. Now meeting Rajan Babu for Mr. Ghoshal is very obvious, and this letter is very much intentive. So the Curio Shop in the city has got some new supplies, and that might lead Ghoshal to threaten Rajan Babu so that he should stuck inside his house and cannot go to Curio Shop to buy antiques and curios, so that it could be bought by Ghoshal at a low, cheap price and could be sold to the foreigners at a high rate. So he wanted to stop Rajan Babu to get out of the house. So he might have written this threatening letter. That is a logic given by Tinkori Babu to the detectives. I see, exclaimed Tinkori Babu. A letter like that would naturally frighten Rajan Babu into staying at home for a few days, and Ghoshal would get to buy all these new pieces. Exactly, said by Feluda. So Tinkori Babu also told us about Rajan Babu's son, Prabir. Apparently, Rajan Babu had asked Prabir to leave the house. Well, the fact remains that Prabir and Rajan Babu didn't have good terms. So he was asked to leave the house 16 years ago when he had caught Prabir stealing money from the cupboard. So Prabir has also got some criminal record in the books of Rajan Babu. So he might also be a suspect. Prabir had not been seen since. Hence, Tinkori Babu was shocked to hear that we had seen Prabir at the mall that morning. And Prabir was seen in the mall, in that shopping street that morning. So he might also be a suspect. So Prabir also has a motive to threaten his father, said Feluda. Rajan Babu doesn't know that his son is in town. There was information given by Feluda, said Tinkori Babu. Information was given by Tinkori Babu to Feluda, and he also admits that Rajan Babu doesn't know that his son is there in the town. And I don't think he should be told. He would be disturbed having heard this. So he shows his concern for Rajan Babu. After further investigation, Feluda told me means to Topsy, I visited Dr. Mitra today. He could have also sent the letter. Now another suspect, the third one, would be Dr. Mitra. He might also send the letter. Why? Okay, he seems to be in need of money as he doesn't have a good practice. That business of doctor is called as practice. A letter like this could make Rajan Babu fall ill, which would require him to go to Dr. Mitra, and in this way Dr. Mitra could earn money from Rajan Babu. So he also has got the motive to write a threatening letter to Rajan Babu to imprison him inside his house. The case had reached the stage where it had 3 suspects but no culprit yet. So here we end our first part, friends. Now we'll see what happens and what plan is made by Feluda to capture the real culprit. So we'll soon meet for the next part, friends.